Welcome back to the deep dive. We often talk about conflict in stories. It's usually the first thing, right? When you try to describe a plot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's central.
But what if there's like a secret language to it? A kind of subtle architecture shaping everything from blockbusters to, well, indie films.
Interesting way to put it.
We're diving into that hidden structure today.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, even the most foundational concepts, they hold layers we haven't fully explored.
That's so true. This whole idea of basics can be, well, deceptively simple.
Right.
We think we get them,
Right.
but they're not basic because they're easy. They're basic because they're absolutely essential. They're the bedrock, really.
Yeah.
The foundation for all compelling narratives. So re-examining them isn't just, a refresher. It's a way to sharpen your tools, clarify your vision, and just elevate your craft, whether you're writing or honestly just watching.
Exactly. And that's kind of our mission for you today. We want to pull back the curtain on the main conflict in storytelling, specifically how it works in screenplays. Yeah.
It's a concept that often gets generalized, I think. But understanding its variations, that can give you incredible clarity for any story you're trying to tell.
Or even just appreciate on a deeper level.
Totally.
So for you listening, the goal is, well, to equip you with a new lens, a new way to analyze the stories you consume. And bring, hopefully, crystal clarity to your own creative projects. And maybe move beyond just that surface level, good guy versus bad guy thing.
Right. Get past the simple stuff.
Yeah, we're offering a shortcut, kind of, to seeing those foundational building blocks with fresh eyes. Make every plot twist, every character's motivation sort of pop with new meaning.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then. What are we actually talking about when we say main conflict?
At its absolute core, it boils down to this. Someone wants something and goes after it, against strong opposition.
Okay.
That's the narrative spine, the through line keeping everything connected moving forward.
The engine of the story. Pretty much. Without that central tension, you don't really have a story. You just have, well, a series of events happening.
Right.
And we naturally focus on the someone wants something part, That's our protagonist, their goal. But the real story-driving conflict, that only ignites when that pursuit slams head-on into an opposing force.
The against strong opposition part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the antagonist. And it's often, I think, the most overlooked half of the equation, but it's absolutely critical.
And when we say antagonist, it's really important to broaden that, isn't it? It's not always like a cackling villain in a cape.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
This isn't about morality, it's about function, right?
Yeah.
Narrative function.
Precisely. The antagonist is simply the primary force working against the protagonist's goal.
So it could be another person.
Sure, often is. But it could also be, forces of nature, societal pressures.
Internal struggles.
Absolutely. Things like addiction or fear, where the internal battle is the main barrier. Or it could be an entire system, like an oppressive government or some unyielding bureaucracy.
Gotcha.
The key thing is, just like the protagonist, this antagonistic force has a goal, or at least represents a desired state that clashes with the protagonist's.
Okay.
And it's the way those two goals clash, that specific dynamic between the protagonist's desire and this opposing force, that really defines the shape of your story's central conflict.
And that clash leads to, you said 4 distinct types?
That's right. Once you see that clash clearly, you realize there are really 4 distinct types that cover most narratives.
4 types? Wow. Okay, let's unpack this. Give us the first one. I'm guessing sometimes the hero's main drive isn't just getting their own thing, but actively stopping someone else.
You've hit it exactly. That's type 1. The protagonist's goal is to prevent the antagonist's goal.
Okay.
So in this setup, the protagonist isn't just focused on their own thing. Their main drive is to actively prevent the antagonist from achieving their objective.
Right.
This gives the protagonist a very clear, often pretty urgent, must-stop mission.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about Bridesmaids. Annie wants to protect her role as maid of honor, right, in her friendship with Lillian. Helen is actively trying to take that spot, undermine Annie constantly. So Annie's goal becomes, fundamentally, preventing Helen from succeeding.
Ah, okay. Makes sense.
Or maybe a more high-stakes example, The Silence of the Lambs. Clarice Starling's whole mission is to stop Buffalo Bill from killing more women.
Right. Her goal is preventing his goal.
Exactly. Her objective is directly preventing his heinous acts.
That must stop. Yeah, that sounds incredibly powerful for grabbing the audience. But are there times when this type of conflict feels maybe too simple? Or like writers struggle to make it compelling beyond just the surface?
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Yeah.
While it's direct, The challenge often lies in giving the antagonist some depth,
Okay.
beyond just being the bad guy. If the audience understands why the antagonist wants what they want, even if it's awful, it elevates the conflict. It goes from a simple chase to a truly resonant struggle.
So it's about motivating the antagonist properly.
Yeah, and it's super common in blockbusters because of that clear, immediate objective. But understanding the structure lets writers either, lean into its power intentionally or maybe even subvert expectations.
Okay, so we've got the hero stopping the antagonist. What happens when that dynamic flips? When the opposition is entirely focused on blocking our hero? That must create a different kind of tension.
It really does, and that's type 2. The antagonist's goal is to prevent the protagonist's goal.
Okay, roles reverse.
Exactly. Here, the protagonist is the one pursuing their own goal, making moves, doing their thing, and the antagonist's entire mission is specifically to block them, to stop them at every turn.
So the protagonist sets the agenda.
Right, and the antagonist reacts. Think about the babysitter. Cole finds out the truth about his babysitter and her cult friends.
Yeah.
And once he tries to escape, their entire focus becomes stopping. He's trying to flee. They're trying to keep him trapped. His goal triggers their goal.
Oh.
Or for something more character-driven, maybe about a boy, Will wants to keep his comfy, commitment-free life going.
Right.
Marcus, the kid, keeps forcing Will into emotional connection, responsibility. Basically preventing Will from maintaining that isolated state he wants.
So the antagonist's goal is directly messing with the protagonist's desired status quo.
Perfectly put. It's all about disrupting what the protagonist wants.
I find that fascinating. It really puts the protagonist's drive front and center, doesn't it? Like their actions directly trigger the pushback.
It does. It's a reactive opposition. And it puts the burden on the protagonist to keep pushing, keep innovating, because every step they take is met with a targeted counter move.
Forces that forward momentum.
Definitely. Keeps the story moving.
All right, so type 1, type 2. What if it's not about one stopping the other, but they both want the exact same thing? That's where the sparks really fly, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. That's type 3. Both protagonists and antagonists want the same goal.
The classic rivalry.
Exactly. Yeah. It creates this inherent competition, a zero-sum game where only one can truly succeed because they both want the exact same prize. Their goals are fundamentally at odds, even if neither character is, inherently evil.
Like Warrior, is that a good example?
Warrior's a fantastic example. You've got two estranged brothers, both competing for the same MMA title.
Yeah.
They aren't villains to each other in a moral sense, right?
Yeah.
But they're functional antagonists because their shared intense desire for that one championship means only one can win.
Right. One winning means the other loses.
Right.
Directly.
Precisely. His success precludes the others.
Warrior always gets me. I remember watching it and just genuinely not knowing who I wanted to win, which says a lot about this type of conflict. It makes you realize how often we just assume, good guy wins. But here, it's so much more nuanced, so much more heart-wrenching.
Exactly. And it's a trap I think a lot of writers fall into, thinking their antagonist needs to be purely evil. Sometimes the most compelling conflict comes from two genuinely understandable people wanting the same irreplaceable thing. It creates profound emotional depth. Yeah. Because the conflict isn't rooted in simple good versus evil, but in these competing, relatable, often deeply personal desires. It makes for incredibly rich character dynamics.
Almost Shakespearean, you said?
Kind of, yeah. In its tragedy, it lets the audience empathize with both sides, which is powerful.
Okay. And for our final pillar, sometimes the goals aren't the same, but they can't coexist. Success for one means failure for the other, even if they aren't directly trying to stop each other. Tell us about that one.
This one's a bit more nuanced, yeah. It's type 4. The protagonist's and antagonist's goals are different but incompatible.
Different but incompatible, okay.
So the protagonist and antagonist are after different things entirely, but the success of one necessarily means the failure of the other. And crucially, the opposing force might not even be trying to stop the protagonist. It just exists in direct opposition to what the protagonist needs.
Like Die Hard, you mentioned that earlier.
Die Hard is a perfect example here. John McClane wants to save the hostages. That's his goal.
Right.
Hans Gruber wants to steal bearer bonds from the vault, using the hostages as leverage. His goal is theft.
Different goals. Saving versus stealing.
Exactly. But for John to succeed in saving everyone, Hans must fail at his robbery. And for Hans to succeed, well, John has to fail. Their goals, though separate, are completely incompatible.
Okay, I see that.
You also see this structure a lot with environmental or situational antagonists.
Like a storm or something.
Yeah, like in Finding Dory or The Perfect Storm. The huge, dangerous ocean or a massive storm. It isn't trying to stop Dory from finding her parents or the fishermen from getting home safely.
Right, it's just there.
It's just there.
Yeah.
But its existence, its power, is directly at odds with what the protagonists need for survival or connection or safety.
That's a great distinction. So this structure must be super useful for stories where the antagonist isn't a straightforward human villain. It opens up so much more versatility, right, for dealing with systemic issues or just the indifferent forces of nature.
Precisely. It allows for a much broader definition of antagonist and really widens the scope of stories you can tell.
Yeah.
You can push beyond simple character versus character conflict into more complex struggles, environmental, philosophical.
Where the opposition is more like a state of being, a challenge that just has to be overcome.
You got it.
Okay. So ultimately, regardless of the specific type, there's that essential truth. No conflict, no story.
Bingo.
We often focus so much on our protagonists, their dreams, their journeys, that the antagonist can become, I don't know, almost an afterthought sometimes.
That happens.
But what happens to a story if that opposing force is weak or passive? How much does that really hurt the narrative?
Oh, it's devastating. Absolutely devastating. If that opposing force is weak or passive or just ill-defined, your story's going to run out of steam fast.
Lose tension.
Totally. It'll lack genuine tension, real impact. The antagonist isn't just, a plot device. They need to be a fully fledged character or force with their own intentions, their own agency. For the story to truly sing, the antagonist needs to be just as active, just as motivated as the protagonist. Their counter-agenda needs to be compelling enough to genuinely challenge our hero.
So the antagonist needs their own internal logic, their own drive, just like the protagonist. Makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And unlike the protagonist's goal, which usually gets introduced early, pursued, resolved, the antagonist's goal can actually be set up before the story even starts.
Oh, interesting.
Or it can emerge later, maybe in direct reaction to what the protagonist does. What matters is that it has to be strong enough, well-defined enough to carry the weight of the whole narrative.
Yeah.
To provide that really robust opposition.
Right.
And look, this isn't just for writers either. Understanding this whole framework, it'll profoundly strengthen your appreciation, your critical viewing of any story you encounter. Makes you a more discerning audience member.
Okay, now it's your turn. Let's challenge you listening right now.
Think about a story you absolutely love. Favorite movie, book, maybe something you're working on yourself. What would you say is its main conflict? Can you pinpoint which of these 4 types it falls into?
Yeah, try it.
And most importantly, what exactly is the antagonist's goal?
Yeah.
And how does it directly oppose the protagonists? Really, drill down into it.
And to really flex those narrative muscles, try a little brainstorming exercise. Take each of these 4 conflict types.
Okay.
And try to just sketch out a story idea for each one. For type 1, who's trying to achieve something the protagonist absolutely must stop?
Right.
For type 2, who might want to actively stop the protagonist from getting their personal goal? For type 3, what if both protagonist and antagonist desperately want the exact same unique thing, creating that unavoidable clash?
Yeah.
And finally, for type 4, what separate goal or maybe what force could naturally, maybe even accidentally block the protagonist's path without even actively trying to? That's a great exercise. You can also sharpen your instincts just by watching movies through this lens, right?
Absolutely.
As you watch, notice which type of main conflict they're built on. Are there certain genres that seem to favor particular types? Like, I notice a lot of action movies lean heavily on type 1, for instance.
Often, yeah. Clear objective.
Which ones resonate most with you personally and why? It's a fantastic way to deepen your understanding of storytelling on a really practical level.
Definitely.
So, to bring it all together, remember that conflict is so much more nuanced than just, good guy versus bad guy. By taking the time to really identify the specific type of main conflict at the heart of your story, you can seriously strengthen its spine. Clarify the setup. Give yourself a much clearer path forward for the whole narrative.
It's about precision.
Exactly. Precision, not just presence, in how you craft or even just perceive a story's central struggle.
And by understanding these fundamental structures, you can not only appreciate the craft of storytelling on a much deeper level, but you can also start to identify the subtle power dynamics at play in narratives. This understanding, it invites you to question and analyze every plot twist, every character decision, every theme with a kind of newfound insight. It makes you a more informed, more engaged audience member or, more skilled creator, really capable of seeing the story's true engine.